Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 10 of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast here on G-Show Productions on gshow.ca. I'm your host, Graham the G-Show Forsyth, and as always, we're brought to you by Terrico, McCann Fasteners and Tools, Goaltenders, and Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia for another edition of this show. I'm very excited for who's going to be joining me on today's episode, as it's someone that I play fantasy hockey with. It's someone that I've played on the same beer league team with, and someone who, in my opinion, is always, when he's talked hockey, displayed attributes of being a coach. And all these years later, he's now the head coach of the WHSHL Olympiens in the Winnipeg Free Press Division this season in the Winnipeg High School Hockey League. Dom Courcelles, he's going to be joining the show as the only guest in this week's edition of the show to talk about, how it came to be for him to take over as head coach for the men's program at WHSHL. Previously, he was with the women's high school hockey team there and had a chance to win a championship. We get into a bit of that, as well as much more specifically this season here on this edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast on G-Show Productions on gshow.ca. Enjoy, everybody, as Dom Courcelles, head coach of CJS, joining the show next. It's the head coach of the WHSHL Olympiens, Dom Courcelles, joining this edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast. Dom, it's kind of funny us connecting like this. We played beer league hockey together. Now I'm interviewing you as you're the coach of the CJS team. Take me through, I guess, how it came to be first off for you to, be coaching this team. And now I believe it's your second year with the squad.
Yeah, it's my second year as head coach now, the boys team here at CJS. Prior to that, I coached 2 years at CJS with the girls team. I was assistant coach. We had a couple of really successful years there. And then there was the previous head coach of the boys team was moving on to other aspirations. So there was a position to be filled, and I wanted to make that step and hopefully turn the team around, because the boys were struggling a little bit over the past previous year since the pandemic. So second year, that's kind of how it happened. There was an opening, I filled it, and here we are now.
Yeah, and I mean, you've had some history in playing in this league way back when now with College Belleville. I believe you also had a chance to help out with that staff as well at one point earlier on in your coaching career. What have those experiences been like for you, and how they've helped you at this point, the coach you are today?
Yeah, so I mean, I had a great time as a player in this league. I played 3 seasons for the Belleville Barracudas. After my playing days, I was able to help out a little bit with their rookie team, kind of support their coaches in different roles. I think that's the coaching that I received as a player, and the experiences that I got, kind of helping the coaches out with the rookie teams. I think working under them as a player and then kind of as a supporter, that really enabled me to learn the ins and outs of, running a high school hockey team, what works, what doesn't, and just the values that we're trying to instill in these young student athletes. So I think it prepared me really well for the role that I ended up taking. And obviously, I'm still learning. I'm not perfect, but it definitely gave me the base that I needed to find some initial success with the team.
No, for sure. And it's funny, I actually mentioned this a few weeks ago on this podcast. Now, College Belleville's in this division, CJS in this division. What's that been like? Or I guess how cool is that going to be when this squad's going to take on those Barracudas, given that also another former Cuda's on the staff and Alex Fillion?
Yeah, it's always fun when we play Belleville. We had the opportunity to play them in Nipua just a few weeks ago in the tournament final. Unfortunately, they got the best of us there, but you know what? It's a lot of fun when we play Belleville because not only are our two teams very evenly matched, just the dynamic of Miguel being my former coach, Quinn being a buddy of mine. We still play rec league hockey together over there. And then, on my staff, we have Nathan Agar and Alex Fillion that we all played Belleville hockey together. So, and it's funny, a lot of chirps between the coaching staff. It's always fun, but as soon as the puck drops, we're trying to win. So, we're very much looking forward to the next game against them right before the Christmas break.
That should be great. And yeah, I mean, taking a look at the standings, CJS right now with 15 points in the standings, Belleville with 21, and going to be excited to see what happens next time out when these two teams take on each other, given so many Belly alumni across all coaching staffs between those two teams. But you had mentioned you coached the girls team at CJS for a few years, taking over a boys team, which you talked about had some struggles, since the pandemic. What was that challenge like, going into a newer situation, even though it was still with the same school, but taking on something that needed improving, needed a bit of touch-ups?
Yeah, so when I was working with Melissa Boulanger with the girls team, we had very strong teams. The first year I was there, we ended up winning the entire championship. The year later, we won, I think, 20 games or whatever in the regular season, and ended up losing in the playoffs. But I when we went to the boys team, that was a team that for 2 or 3 years had won maybe 5 games a year. There were a lot of bad habits. There were a lot of, you know, culture issues, I think, a lot of blaming going around. And you know what? We just had to go in there and say, like we need to change not just the on ice product, but we also had to change the culture of the team. I think guys are down on themselves, and we had to learn to just buy in to a system and support your teammates. And we also had to learn how to win hockey games. You have to play a certain way in order to win in this league. It's very, very tight. It's competitive, and you know what? If you're taking a shift off or you're taking a period off, like we've seen even just recently here with our team, we're not going to end up in the win column. So, just learning the right habits, learning how to win, it all had to kind of mesh together. So, it took us a while, I think, but now I think we're trending in the right direction.
Yeah, and this team currently with a 5-2 record, 26 goals for, 20 goals against. And in terms of looking at the penalty minutes, a team that's been pretty disciplined so far. I guess speak about how this coaching staff, yourself, Nathan and Alex, have all been able to, kind of complement each other in terms of getting the best out of this group so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, to touch on the discipline piece, I mean, prior to coming in, this hockey team took way too many penalties, a lot of undisciplined penalties. So, we really try to crack down on that and ensure that we're not mouthing off, we're not taking misconducts, that we're just playing clean hockey. But in terms of the coaching staff, I carefully selected Nathan, Joel, and Alex to come in and help me out. For those that know me and know my playing style. I was an offensive guy. I was very, very, you know, in the crease, banging and rebounds type thing. So I have a pretty good idea of how to score goals and how to generate offense, whether that be 5-on-5 or on the power play. But where I lacked really was the defensive knowledge of the game and also the goaltending aspect. So first and foremost, like bringing in Alex, who was a really good high school hockey defenseman. He played in the Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League. He's been terrific working with our defensemen, some of whom are pretty young, right? That have been joining our team in grade 9 or grade 10, and or just bringing in guys that perhaps hadn't had the defensive oriented coaching. So Alex has been tremendous in helping develop our defensemen. Nathan has been great with our goaltenders. Nathan was a really, really good goalie back in high school. And you know what? He's a guy that had never done any goalie coaching prior to him joining the team, but I knew he'd be great in that role, and he's helped our goaltenders out tremendously. And it's been a very, very big part of our success. And then bringing in Joel Baudet, a guy that I didn't actually know prior to me asking him to join the team. I had coached with his sister, and I had coached his other sisters. So they kind of just said, hey, my brother Joel would probably help you out if you needed. So I said, right on. And Joel's been really good with our penalty kill and helping out our forwards play more grittier type of games. So I think all of us coaches, we have our different strengths, and it really, really works well.
Yeah, all those different pieces of a puzzle kind of coming together to form what's been a really great start for this team. A team that, coming into last week was coming off of a 7-3 loss against the St. John's Ravens Court Eagles. But I mean, talk about it last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess, at this point, bouncing back with those two straight victories, 6-0 win over Sanford, and then a 3-2 victory over Gabriel.
Yeah, so that SGR game, that was not a great game for us defensively. And it happens from time to time. We had beat SGR earlier in the season. We got a little bit away from our structure in that game. So, we prior to our next game, we got together at lunch. We went over some film. We looked at areas that we needed to tighten up and improve, and that translated very, very well. Obviously, the next game we won 6-0 in Sanford, which is a tough arena to play hockey in. It's a very small rink. So you know what, we came out and played hard, and we got the win there. Then the next game against Gabriel, was our third game in 4 days. I think we ran out of juice a little bit, but you know what, ultimately we did enough to get the win. So it was great to see. But yeah, I look back at, I look back at our wins, and I'm super proud of that. I look back at our losses, and it still bugs me a little bit. It really does motivate me to want to beat those opponents the next time, because I know we can when we're playing the right way.
Well, this team is going to have some good motivation going into a game 2 days from now, I guess, since we're doing this interview on the Sunday. Next game this team plays is against Dakota, the Lancers at Dakota Community Center at 4 p.m. on this Tuesday. Coming off of a 5-2 loss, I believe, against the Miles Mac Bucks. The CJS team is. What are you looking from this group in this bounce back against a very talented and skilled Dakota Lancers squad?
Yeah, for me, you know what, I'm just looking for a little bit of pushback here. We are 4-0 on the road. We're 1-3 at home. I find that we have not played our best hockey on home ice whatsoever for whatever reason. So, you know what, we have a home game here against Dakota, who, like you said, is a strong team. They're a good team. It's been a while since Dakota and CGS have been in the same division, but historically they've been really, really tight physical battles. So I'm motivating my team here to look inward and say, hey, you know what? This is our home rink. This is where we play. This is where we practice. It's in front of our home fans. We got to come out hard, and we got to make this building very, very tough to play in. Home ice advantage should be, an advantage. And right now, we're not playing the best on home ice. So we're looking to flip the switch on Tuesday, come out hard, and get a big 3 points.
Well, gotta be excited for this one. WHSHL fans as two rivals, I guess, historic rivals going at it, given the locations of Dakota and CJS. Interested to see if that barn's going to be packed on Tuesday as well, and interested to see what the outcome is going to be. Dom Courcelles, head coach of this year's CJS Olympian squad in the Winnipeg Free Press Division in the Winnipeg High School Hockey League, joining this edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast. Dom, best of luck to the team moving forward this year, and thanks for coming on once again.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Thanks a lot.
And Dom Courcelles joining this edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast. His CJS Olympiens in action at 4 p.m., so under an hour now, under 45 minutes at this point, as they'll be looking for a victory at home against the Dakota Lancers, looking to turn things around a bit at home as well, as Dom talking about how this team has had their struggles there so far this year. But if Jean Sauvé is able to come away with a victory, they would then tie Dakota in the standings, as Jean Sauvé had 15 points, Dakota had 18, and for each win, each regulation win, you get 3 points. So yeah, Jean Sauvé looking for that big regulation win to tighten up the standings even more so, as we're going to be taking you through not only the Winnipeg High School Hockey League standings, but the Manitoba Women's High School Hockey League standings, the MJHL and Manitoba U18 AAA Hockey League standings, as well as the stats from the players and top goaltenders in that league so far, as well as taking a look at the U of M Bison's men's and women's hockey programs and how they fared this past weekend. You're watching the Manitoba Hockey Podcast for episode 10 here on G Show Productions on gshow.ca. More to come after this commercial break. Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. Welcome back, everybody, to this edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast. College Jean Sauvé head coach Dom Courcelles joining the show as the only guest in this week's episode. Going to be hoping to talk to more members from the Winnipeg High School Hockey League throughout the next few weeks. Not even just that, but throughout the rest of the time here for the end of 2024-2025, as there's a lot of excitement around this league, honestly. A lot of good teams surrounding it, and one of those is, of course, College Jean Sauvé. But we're not going to talk about them right now. We're going to start off with talking about the Manitoba Junior Hockey League. In terms of the standings right now in the league, Steinbach remaining atop of the East Division, Dauphin also remaining atop of the West. The Winnipeg Freeze have ended up surpassing the Winnipeg Blues in the standings, as Winnipeg falls to dead last in the total MJHL standings. If we take a look at the games, how this past weekend went, it didn't start off pretty for the Blues, losing 10-0. That Selkirk-Verdun game ended up being postponed. I'm sure that was because of some weather. I'm not too sure, though, specifically, but the way the rest of last week went in the MJHL. Weiwei Sikapo with a huge 2 wins in a row, one of them coming against the top Dauphin Kings. For Niverville also getting a huge win against the Steinbach Pistons, 2-1. on on Friday night, as I should say. There was plenty of action on Friday night in the league, as there were 5 matchups that went down, and then 2 on Sunday to close things out for this week's schedule. And as for the Selkirk Steelers, they finished off with a 3-1 win. It was the top 2 point getters in the MJHL going at it. As we take a look at it, Cameron Bollinger still remains atop of the point leading totals for the Portage Terriers with 32 and 25 games played. Owen Warnick, though, right up his tail at this point with 30 and 2 less games played now with 23. As for the goaltending leaders in the MJHL, Cole Sheffield and Kristen Green, their teams atop of the standings in their respective divisions, and their performance between the pipes being one of the most crucial parts of this so far. Sheffield with 2 shutouts on the season, a .923 save percentage, while Green has only 3 losses in total on the year and a stunning .945 save percentage with 3 shutouts. Liam Ernst also in there for the Winkler Flyers with 3 shutouts as well. For full statistics surrounding the MJHL as well as the upcoming schedule, be sure to check out mjhlhockey.ca. We now move on to the Manitoba U18 AAA Hockey League, a league that seems to always start off their weeks on Wednesdays, and it was the Winnipeg Bruins who took the opening matchup of the past week in what was a busy one once again in the Manitoba U18 AAA Hockey League. It ended off with the Southwest Cougars defeating the Kenora Thistles at home in Surrey's by a score of 4-1. Week actually starting tonight in the league in the Credit Union Place Parkland. Going to be playing at home against the Central Plains Capitals. Going to finish off this month of November with 4 games played on Saturday as well. But as for the standings here in the league, it's the Brandon Wheat Kings. We talked about them last week, still at the top of the standings. Didn't take long for them to regain their spot as, you know, the team with the best record in the league so far, even though they are tied with Southwestern points. 3 less games played than the Cougars. So the Cougars have played more than anyone else besides the Winnipeg Thrashers so far, as they've both played 21 games. Actually, my eyes deceived me, as Norman, the North Stars, have played the most so far with 24. The Yellowhead Chiefs remaining at the bottom of the standings with 3 wins only on the year, 13 losses, a shootout loss in there. I guess the silver lining for the teams at the bottom is right now, at least you're able to get in the win column every once in a while. But we take a look at the top 5 point getters now here in the league, as it's Connor Holmson for Southwest with a stunning 37 points in 21 games played. Luca Pira, maybe even more impressive though, I'd say so, with a 1.84 points per game average right now, 35 points in 19 games played, a whopping 25 assists there as well, to be well over an assist per game. As for the goaltending, Walt Brandon, Brady Lowe, goaltender rookie, has been really solid so far. 2 shutouts and undefeated in regulation so far, maybe undefeated in total, as he's got no losses on his record. Also a .921 save percentage, but it's Brody Cameron who has the best save percentage out of this top 5 right now. Justin Perreault for the Winnipeg Wild with the most wins. If you want to check out the full statistics from this league, be sure to check out their website at mbu18AAAhockey.ca. Before we move on to anything else, though, outside of other leagues, congratulations to Quentin Fisk, as well as defenseman of the month for the Southwest Cougars and Jack Swainapole, and goaltender for the Winnipeg Wild, who we just mentioned, and Justin Perreault. You can read it all for yourselves, I guess, here on the screen, but be sure to check out the league's website if you want to take some time to take a look at these players. Congratulations to Quentin as well as Jack and Justin on receiving honors here. We are going to throw it to another transition, and then I'm going to be back to talk about some high school hockey league here on this edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast on G-Show Productions. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, let's get back into talking about what we started off with this episode in terms of the topic, the Winnipeg High School Hockey League. And yeah, taking a look at the standings. Now, I did this a bit differently. I'm not sure how it's gonna look, but let's see how this goes here. Okay, so Platinum, Free Press, and Price, those are to mark the different divisions. The Platinum Promotions Division being the top, the team among the top right now, at the top, the Vincent Massey Trojans. Now, last time we talked, it was the St. Paul's Crusaders who were atop of the standings, but it was Vincent Massey who ends up having a huge past week of play where St. Paul's faltering a bit. Allows for Vincent Massey to skyrocket up into the standings, the top of it at first place. Stonewall remains at the bottom with only a win on the season. They're currently, I'm assuming, looking to chase down teams like John Taylor and J.H. Bruns to make more headway up in the standings, as well as teams like Lord Selkirk even in there. But as for the Winnipeg Free Press division, we've had a bit of a change up top as well, as the Garden City Gophers are now the first place team, taking over the Belleville Barracuda spot of first place. In terms of the standings in this Winnipeg Free Press division, really tight, and there's some important games on the schedule this week, as mentioned already. Jean Sauvé taking on the Dakota Lancers, and you can just take a look at the standings there and see the implications of that game early here in the season. The Louis Riel Voyageurs, though, out of all three divisions, remain as the only undefeated team in the Winnipeg High School Hockey League. This team not even 10 games into the season, and they're almost at 100 goals, even though they're 14 away. That is just cracked. That's ridiculous. 57 goals, 4 goals against differential as well, in a team that is perfect so far here in 2024-2025. We'll have to see if they can keep it up within the next few weeks here on the network, but we'll get into some stats leaders now, starting off with the Platinum Promotions division. No one's been better than Nolan Fielding for the River East Kodiaks, and as we take a look at where River East is in the standings with 43 goals for 30 against, Nolan's been a huge part of their success, contributing to that goals for total with 11, and also being a elite setup man this season with 16 assists. As you can see, there's a three-way tie for 5th in the league for points between Salamanca, or Salamacha, as I should say, Jansen, as well as Cordovez, West K, and Westwood being represented here. Westwood with 3 players in that top 5 for point totals. As for the goaltenders, talking about Vincent Massey, their success, well, their goaltending tandem has been lights out so far this year. Nathan Dicken, 9.56 save percentage, and Apo Tuominen. Sorry for butchering your name there, Apple. Apologies about that. It was a bit tough to say, but a 921 save percentage, 2 shutouts on the season so far. Kuo, Johnson, and Finn rounding out this list. In terms of the Winnipeg Free Press division, the Garden City Gophers, Grayson Wood, he ends up being top of the point totals so far. 20 points in 9 games played, very impressive, as he's got the best points per game percentage by far out of the 2 that are below him. Samuel Matre, though, for Leo Remillard, he also has a fantastic points per game average with 2 right on the dot. For the goaltenders, Garden City, well, like Vincent Massey, their goaltending tandem has been lights out. Shinnery and Agura, both with 4 wins each. Shinnery with an undefeated record so far. Speaking of the Collège Jean Sauvé Olympians, too, Dom talked about their goaltending, while Braden Trechelle has been phenomenal to start off this year in terms of, I guess, steady in the pipes in terms of the wins. Not the best save percentage, but does have a shutout in there, and has been doing enough to get the job done for his team so far this season. As for the Price division, Luca Tatro still remains on top. Jacob Traeger is also in there. Tatro almost at 5 points per game, 4.67. That's something we're going to be watching all year long, is how many points can Luca put up. As for the goaltending here in the Price division. Dallas Shaver for the Warren Wildcats at the top, an undefeated record in regulation. Maybe overall, I'm not too sure if he came in for a game for Warren or not, but yeah, impressive stuff there. His stat line really impressive. These goaltenders, though, don't really care about the save percentages, it seems. Or, just in general, I think the C division, a much higher scoring division out of the rest. So these are why these numbers aren't as strong from the top goaltenders in terms of the save percentages. Still some shutouts in there, though, from Brandt and Fox, as you can see here on this list. We are going to now move into the Manitoba Women's High School Hockey League. Same type of deal here coming up. And yeah, Division 1 and Division 2 have some undefeated teams there. The only team atop of their division that isn't undefeated is the Dakota Lancers, but still no regulation losses on the year. Both coming in extra time. Dakota still has quite the advantage in the standings, as well as they're 7 points up on PCI with the same amount of games played. The Glen Lawn Lions also with a 5-point advantage over the St. Mary's Academy Flames in Division 1 CJS right now, looking to end up moving past Oak Park in the standings, as they're currently tied with them with one more game played. And as for Division 2, Sanford, the leaders of it, 5 points up on the Selkirk Royals in the division with the most teams here in the Manitoba Women's High School Hockey League. The only team without a win so far this year, sadly for them, is the West Kildonan Collegiate Wolverines. But still, quite a few games left to be played, and still plenty of opportunities to at least get into that win column a few times this season. Division 1 stats, the Rigaud sisters been phenomenal this year for the Glen Lawn Lions. We also see Chloe Minkus in there for Glen Lawn, tied for 5th in points with 11, 5 goals, 6 assists, and 6 games played, as the Interlake Lightning forward, contributing big time to her school so far, along with the Rigaud sisters. Kate Chubak is tied with Veda in the stats right now, as you can see. As for the goaltending here in the league, CJS been getting really strong goaltending from Celeste Pelletier. And how about Isabel Osterman from the St. Mary's Academy Flames? A .951 save percentage and 2 shutouts. Very impressive, along with a undefeated record. What's so impressive about Celeste Pelletier's record so far is 4 of her 5 wins have been shutouts. So you're either finding the back of the net on her and you're able to win games, or if you don't, find the back of the net, well, that's happened 4 times so far this year, and proving how dominant that she can be so far this season in the league. I was trying to say something smarter than I just said, I guess. Whiffed on that one. But a player that hasn't whiffed so far in her season has been Olivia Brewer. She's been very consistently at the top of the stats leaderboards from what I've been seeing the past few weeks. She's got 17 points, 9 games played, almost at 2 points per game. Melissa Downing for Garden City Collegiate, also very impressive, almost at 2 points per game. Kayla Uchin, happy I did not butcher that name finally today. She's undefeated so far, very impressive save percentage, but that sample size not the biggest, so we'll have to see where that save percentage ends up landing on the scale as the season continues along. But Brooke Larson for the Sanford Sabres, 9.52 save percentage, an undefeated 6-0 record. Lots of goaltenders undefeated here. Hannah Uchin also making her debut on this list, I guess, for Miles Mack. Haven't seen her yet, with a 3-2 record and 9.48 save percentage. Be sure to check out Manitoba Women's High School Hockey League content on WHSHL.ca for all the information surrounding these leagues. And just kidding, we still got Division 3 to take a look at here, as Kara Lasick still remains atop of the point leaderboards. They're quite tight in the middle of this top 5, as you can see there. Murdoch McKay with 3 players cracking this list. Goaltending wise, the Dakota Lancers, well, defensively sound so far this year, and it started with their goaltenders in the pipes, as both of them with a sub 920 save percentage. Or a save percentage over 920 at least. Yeah, be sure to check out the full stats on Manitoba Women's High School Hockey League, their website. And yeah, also congratulations to Chloe Minkus, Avery Shortridge, and Kara Lisick for earning Players of the Week from last week's action. Visit their website for the full write-ups on the players if you want to check them out yourself. But yeah, we'll end off with the Manitoba Bisons, the U of M. As their two teams were in action, we'll start off with the women's squad. Going into their home barn and beating the Calgary Dinos in back-to-back games, only giving up 2 goals in total throughout this past weekend. This squad rebounding nicely since their 7-0 loss against the Mount Royal Cougars for the U of M Manitoba Bisons. This is a team that, has scouted well. Their women's program at that have found some really good, strong players from throughout the province and from other provinces, and a team that is really starting to click, it seems like, here early on in the season. Of course, they still got the month to finish off, as they'll be back at home to take on the University of British Columbia Thunderbirds. But yeah, for this squad, looking to close out the month with only 1 loss on the schedule, which would be very impressive. Just trying to take a look at their stats leaders here. As right now, it is Amy Patrick with 10 points. Nora Collins second in the points totals with 9, Julia Bird and Dana Gertzen rounding out the top 3, tied with 5 points each. As for the men's Bisons program, well, it hasn't been going so well for them. They're winless here in the month of November. The past weekend, nothing seemed to get better on the score sheet for this team, as instead of giving up only 2 goals like the women's team did, they ended up giving up way more goals in terms of 11 in total and only scored 2 in total for themselves. So a team from, the best of my knowledge in the past, few years of me really getting, recollected and aware of the, university game here in the province and in Canada. This is a program that, never really seen any big time players going. It's usually players that have played, for example, Skylar Bruce in the WHL, that they're not going pro. Maybe they want to just finish off by playing some competitive hockey and they decide to play university. I'm not saying that's how they got all of their players, but that's a common story, right? And this team, whether it's a lack of talent or just this team being snake bitten or the struggles in the defensive zone, whatever the case may be, how do you find positivity in your game and, focus on just taking it one period at a time? And if you're getting scored on, how do you survive that? Well, they'll have a chance to see how they can improve in all of those aspects coming up this Friday, as they'll be on the road again, this time going to BC, hoping that team has a safe travel out there. Not sure if they're taking the plane or busing. I'm sure they'll take the plane given the distance, but yeah, best of luck to this team and safe travels down to the University of BC coming up this weekend as they finish off their month of November looking for their first win of the month. Yeah, that's going to do it for this edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast. We're going to send it to another little transition here, and I'll be back for some final words on this Tuesday afternoon here in our last November show of 2024. Well, you made it to the end of this edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast. I've been your host, Graham, the G Show Forsyth. Want to give a special thanks to Dom Courcelles once again for joining the show. Head coach of the CJS Olympiens in the Winnipeg Free Press Division in the Winnipeg High School Hockey League. His squad in action coming up in 20 minutes to take on the Dakota Lancers at Dakota Community Center. If you're watching this and have a chance to go watch that game, I suggest you do. Should be probably a close one unless it gets away from one of these teams. And if that happens, well, that'll give us something interesting to talk about coming up next week. But yeah, special thanks to you, the viewer, for tuning in as well. I was trying to figure out who to thank first. Also want to thank the sponsors and McKen Fasteners and Tools, Terrico, Goaltenders, and Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia for sponsoring another edition of this podcast. To you, the viewer, if you did enjoy this one, we come out with episodes every Tuesday. Time varies from time to time, but usually going to be either afternoons, usually mornings, as I should say. Sometimes we have them in the afternoons, sometimes in the evenings. So the thing that doesn't change moving forward here, though, is that these episodes will always come out on Tuesdays. The next one for episode 11 comes out next Tuesday. So yeah, check out our website, gshow.ca, or our social media pages, as that's where we're going to be posting the details for this episode. And another way you can find out when the episode is airing is if you turn on notifications to this channel. You can get notifications of when episodes like this, content like this comes out. And yeah, if you also subscribe, that'll probably help you out by getting those notifications better. I'm actually not sure if you have to subscribe to a channel to get notifications to it. No matter what, though, if you decide not to subscribe, that's okay. But if you do subscribe, thank you so much for your support in that way, going the extra mile to do so. I'm rambling at this point, ladies and gentlemen, and yeah, overall, thank you once again for tuning in to another edition of the Manitoba Hockey Podcast. We'll be back next Tuesday. We got more content to come here on the network this week, a few live stream games, some more podcasts from all the leagues that we're partnered with, and Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, the Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League, as well as the Manitoba Female U18 AAA Hockey League. I hope everyone staying safe out there and has been staying safe on their travels. If you're going on the road tonight, hope you get to your destination safe. Overall, just stay safe on the roads is what I'm trying to say to everybody. Hoping everybody the best of health and safety as the holidays season is approaching here very soon. But yeah, that's going to do it for me, everybody. Graham, the G Show Forsyth, giving you the salute, peacing out, and waving so long, everybody. Until episode 11 next week. We'll see you then. Take care.